So today I'm going to show you how to create the BASE64 writer called WELDR in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Now this can be done on the Switch or on the GBA version of the games. They have almost the same setup, but I'm going to go through both of them here. So first of all, what is a BASE64 writer? Well, the WELDR you see on screen here, which is the Metang, it is a Pokemon that will allow us, it's basically a glitched Pokemon that will allow us to write codes in a very specific way. The codes are called BASE64, and using those codes with this Metang here, the game will be able to read it and create any Pokemon with any data in just one code. So let's say you wanted a shiny Jirachi from the bonus disc of the Colosseum game, which is, 20 years old or more. This is the Wishmaker right here, with the exact legal stats that it would have and moves. Even has the berry that you would get on it, or one of the two berries possible. Here's a Charmander that looks like it has been obtained from the start of the game, met in Pallet Town. And yep, I also put max PP on the moves, by the way, so that's why the PPs are so high. Here's a Dratini that it seems to have been obtained from the game corner in Celadon City. Here we have the Japanese shiny Mew with perfect stats. Completely legal. Of course, we don't really know if when Pokemon Home arrives for this game on the Switch, we don't really know if they are going to be allowed to go to Home, because they were, or it seems like it has been coming from another game. As you see there, met in a trade, and this would have been had to be traded from Emerald, like a Japanese Emerald, to be legal. So, and since that's not possible on the Switch as of right now, we don't really know if this would be allowed into Home, but we shall see. And that would go for this Jirachi as well as these two I'm going to show you here. But yeah, so these are just some things that you can create. This Celebi here obviously can't be shiny in Gen 3, just so you know that. And this is from the 10th anniversary event of Pokemon in America. They had this 10th anniversary event, and Celebi was one of the ones you could get from that event. And it would spawn at level 70 once you had like a mystery gift event on Ruby and Sapphire, and this was one of the Pokemon you could get. This one also has close to perfect IVs. Lugia here is from Pokemon XD. This is basically the Shadow Lugia that you would get from XD. And it has the Psycho Boost move that is not possible to get normally in Gen 3 for Lugia. So that's pretty cool. So all of these things you can create, and also I forgot to mention that some of them are also EV trained already. Like you can just spawn them with the EVs on them exactly how you want it. So you wouldn't have to do anything once you've spawned them. Now, this may sound boring to some of you, like some of you probably want to train it, so it's up to you what you do there. But if you wanted to, you can just put in all the EVs. You can also change the ball they were caught in, not for Pokemon that were obtained from stuff like the game corner and your starter, of course, but for Pokemon that were caught, such as this Mew, I put it in a dive ball. It also has the Japanese data on it, so it appears in the game data that it was from a Japanese Emerald game, and it has the Japanese name and OT name there. And you can spawn any item on there as well. So all of that in just one code in 14 boxes, but yeah, still, that is pretty good. Normally, if you wanted to do this without the BASE64, you would have to do maybe 4 or 5 codes just to change all these things to make your Pokemon perfect. But setting up the WELDR here, we can do all of it in one code using my website as well. So let's get to it. So the first step is to go into the description of this video, and you'll find the link to my Gen 3 Ace Builder tool. You can also come into my Discord and find it there. Once you're here, you will have a guide up here on how to spawn any Pokemon with this tool. So you're going to click on this first. We're going to come back to this later though. This will open the new tab over here, and we're going to select Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green for Switch. Or if you're on regular Leaf Green and Fire Red, then you choose this one, okay? So we have 5 codes here. The first one is 14 boxes, but then the next ones are pretty short. The important thing here though, before you get started, you should click on this instruction thing and read through this so that you're fully clear of what you need to do before you get started. But I'm going to tell you right now anyways. Of course, you need to have unlocked your A species in the game. You don't actually need to place that A species in box 13, it's just something I like to do when executing the codes. But it has to be outside of box 13 slot 7 to box 14 slot 30, because that is like the execution zone. We don't want to put Pokemon in that area. Alright, so what you need to do, of course, is remove Pokemon from boxes 13 to 14 because of that rule. Except for your ace species, of course. That can be in the beginning of box 13 just fine, which it does actually say right here. The other thing is that you need to make sure that box 10 slot 22 is empty, because this is where we're going to spawn this WELDR. It's not going to be a WELDR right away, but it's going to be like a bad egg, and then for each code that we do, we are writing data onto that egg, and eventually, once code 5 is done, it will spawn as WELDR, the Metang here. So let's get to it. Now, remember, this is not the dash, this is a space. So whenever you see this underscore, it means space. And this is very important because especially once you come to box 10, you need to type a space before you start the code. So that is very important, and all the other spaces that are mentioned here are also important. So just keep that in mind. Also make sure to look at the right side whenever there is text here, because some of these letters, such as this one in code 4, might look like a number, but this is actually a lowercase l, as it says here. So just be aware of that and be very careful when doing these codes, because if you mess some of these up, it's very hard to know which one you messed up, and you might just have to start over again, and that's boring. So just make sure to double check all the codes before you execute, okay? So when you have typed in your code, what I always like to do is to save the game first, because if you realize that something was wrong, you may come back to this spot and fix your mistake. So after you've typed in your code and you've saved the game, you're going to execute Grab Ace on Fire Red and Leaf Green. This is the same for the Switch and the regular GBA versions. So you would pick up the other Pokemon and then swap it twice. Remember to use the yellow hand by pressing Y. So you would double drop it there, swap it around, and that will execute your code, and you will find this bad egg inside of box 10. Now you're not going to move this, and you shouldn't look at the summary because it might crash your game. Once you just confirm that there is an egg there, you can move on to code number 2. Now, as we can see for code number 2, we actually start from box 8. So if you can't remember exactly where that is, if you go to the box where that egg spawned, you just go 2 spaces back. So let me show you that. So here we have the box where, box 10, right, where your egg is gonna spawn. You would go 1, 2, and that would be box 8. So this is where you're gonna start code 2. And the very important thing here is that once you've typed in the code, don't like fill the rest of the code with spaces, just hit start and confirm. Then once you've done with box 8, we are actually going to skip boxes 9 and 10. So just go straight to box 11. And to do that, you would simply go to the box with the egg and to the next one. So that would be 11. So then you continue from there and you do 11, 12, 13, and 14. You may save the game, as it says here, if you're confident that your code 1 is correct. Maybe if you're new to this, I would probably not save the game and just only save the game after typing in code 1, and then don't save the game for any of the other codes until you verify that you actually get WELDR. because if you don't, it's easier to just start from code 1 again and look for mistakes and then do the rest of the codes, because they're quite short, so it should be fine. Once you've done with that, you won't see any changes, so you just skip to code number 3. We're going to go back to box 8. You can do the same procedure as you did here by going to the box with the egg and then counting 2 backwards. Then you type in this. Then you go back to the box with the egg and 1 forward, and that's 11. And then we have something very important here in code number 3, is that these 2 right here are O's. Uppercase O, not 0. So you execute that, you won't see any difference on the egg. You go to code 4, and this is where you have to make sure not to type 1, but a lowercase l instead. It looks like a 1, but it's an L. Here as well in box 12, there is a O, not 0. Finally, you're going to come to box 5, and this is where we find out if you've done everything correctly. Because once you're done writing this code right here, and you execute it, you should see that the bad egg has become WELDR. If you don't get WELDR, you reset the game and start from code 1 again. But if you did get WELDR, you're now going to move him to box 14, slot 28. So if you did everything correctly, your bad egg should now have become WELDR in box 10. Now remember, I haven't actually typed this code because I've already created it before, but I'm just guiding you through the process. So you would take him from box 10 to box 14, slot 28, which is right here. And once you've done that, you're just gonna either catch a Pokemon or take one that you've already caught and name it J7VC, and that's it. You place it to the right of WELDR in box 14, and then your BASE64 setup is complete. Now you're ready to execute BASE64 codes. So we're now going to go back to my website and try it out and show you how that works. Just remember that any Pokemon that you spawn, you're not actually going to spawn it doing grab ace with this one. This is just like a bootstrap. It's just there to make the code work. But you're still going to execute codes by doing grab ace with your regular ace Pokemon. If you, however, want to do any other code, like you're done with the BASE64 codes, now you want to do a regular ace code, you have to move these out of box 14 in that case. So you could grab them like that and put them in box 1, for instance. And then you can do your regular ace codes again. Yeah, and there are these bad eggs that is very annoying. But yeah, let's go over to my website and show you how this is going to work. So the first time you load up my website, you should see something like this. It is subject to change, however, because I'm not done with it yet, but it should look something like this, at least. And there is a simple mode and an advanced mode here. Only time you would need an advanced mode is if you want to specifically change like origin game and the IVs, you want to be very specific with that, with those, then I highly suggest the advanced mode. I'm going to put that on now, but the simple mode is also working just fine. The whole point with this tool is to create legal Pokemon, so I'm trying my best to make sure that any generations that are possible here are going to be legal in the game. However, if you want to experiment and do other things, you can click manual override, and all these locked fields, such as here you can see Pokeball, I cannot change it, because a hatched Pokemon cannot be in a Great Ball, for example. But if you wanted to, you could change it however you like. But of course, then it won't be legal. So now I'm just quickly going to show you how you can use this website to create a Pokemon. But I will have different videos showing these different encounter types and how to make Pokemon with them. But just really quickly, hatched is, it doesn't mean that a Pokemon that Like, you don't have to use first evolution, you know, that comes out of an egg. It just means that the Pokemon was originally hatched from an egg, but for instance, I can still do a Charizard, okay? This mode is really useful for anything that isn't a legendary, basically, because, or anything that can breed in the daycare is very useful for hatched, because in Gen 3, the PID does not depend on the IVs for it to be legal. So you can actually just edit the IVs however you like in the hatched mode, and it's gonna be legal. That's the good thing about the hatched mode. So let's say I wanted a I wanted a Gyarados, like a competitive strong Gyarados, right? Okay, I might choose hatched mode. You can also choose wild mode if you wanted it to look like you caught it in the wild. That's basically the only reason you would choose wild. But if you're okay with it looking like it was hatched, then choose this mode, it's much better. Okay, so you can choose Adamant, and yeah, there's not much. You can't really change the abilities. You can change the gender, however. So let's say I'm doing it in Fire Red. You can't do Marvel City, so again, just make sure you choose a legit route if you care about that. Yeah, how about we just like do Route 2 or something? Okay. And then you can type in whatever you want for your trainer ID. Ideally, you would want your own. So my TID is 48822. My secret ID is 34234. Alright. Then I can just click on Shiny here, and it will turn it shiny. It's actually, in this case, going to change the PID to match your TID and secret ID. This only works in the hatched mode, so just be aware of that. I'm gonna show you later what I mean, but okay, so you put in your OT name or whatever you want there. Yeah, and the OT gender, this is, of course, if you want to be a female or male in the game. I am a male in-game, so I choose male. And then you can choose the language here as well. Japanese is not supported for now, but you may choose, you know, anything. And this is just like the data of the Pokemon will register which game it was from. Was it from an English version or French or Italian and so on. You can also choose markings. And yeah, so here's the IVs. So you can set these two, for instance. I can set the IVs however I want. I'm okay with max. You should also see the hidden power here. In the future, I'm also going to make it possible to choose which one you want and make it have max power. And you may EV train it like that and put in any of the legal moves that Gyarados may have. So you should see a list of legal moves here. Okay, so whatever. I'm not choosing good moves right now. I'm just clicking something, and you don't have to fill in all of them. You can leave just one move if you want. The friendship can go from 0 to 255, but the regular one is at 70. So if you just want to leave it at 70, then that's fine too. Contest stats, this is only for Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, so yeah, you probably wouldn't want to touch that in Fire Red. Ribbons you can also do, but again, this is for Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, but some of these you might get, but I would be very careful with these because some of them are not legal on all Pokemon. You cannot have all of them, so you would have to do some research there, but in the future I will try to make sure that these will be locked, or the ones that aren't legal will be locked, essentially. But once you're done, you're just gonna click generate, and then you get the BASE64 codes that you will type into your game. Now I will warn you that, again, look at the text on the right, because some of these letters will look like other letters, especially the zeros, the L's, the ones, sometimes the Q and G and 9, and yeah, so just be aware of that. You may also now click on hex if you have if you're playing on an emulator on PC. It can be very useful to just copy the hex code into Pokeglitzer, for instance, and you can just paste it in there and it's going to spawn the Pokemon and you can take a look at it right away. You may also click on export EK3. So I just loaded up my save file and I opened this EK3 file, and then I spawned in this Gyarados that we just made. See? So you can see it has the exact same stats that we just created. You can take a look here. It even has the same PID. It is a female, as you can see. It was met in Fire Red Route 2. Met at level 0, that's because it's hatched from an egg. The stats are exactly like we put it. You see we have the AVs as well, the moves, and yeah, we didn't set any ribbons. We even have the markings there. Alright, so now I've typed in the codes for this specific Gyarados. So let's see what happens when I execute the code. So you would do the grab ace, and there you go. It should spawn right here. How cool is that? See, it has even the markings that we put on it. It appears like this may not actually be my secret ID because it says apparently met in Route 2. Oh, never mind. It's because my OT isn't matching. I should have actually used mistake, because that is actually my save file's OT name. So in order to change this, if something was wrong with your generation, or that you figured out you have to edit something on the page, you can just do your edits and make sure to hit generate again, and some boxes changed a little bit. So then just make sure you do the changes and spawn it again. Okay, so again, what I like to do before executing the BASE64 code is saving the game, so that you don't have to type in all of it again if something is wrong. What we're going to try and do is to write the code on top of this one. So the OT right now is Mankey. Let's see if it changes to mistake after I now do the grab ace execution, and oops, let's see. Alright, it says mistake now. And now you can see it says hatched at Route 2 at level 5. So now this is basically my Gyarados. The game thinks this is my Pokemon that hatched, because I'm using my secret ID and trainer ID. And this also has perfect IVs, so this one is OP as hell. If I now wanted to make another Pokemon, you just make sure to move this out of here. You cannot place it anywhere in box 14 or underneath here past slot 7. So just make sure to put it anywhere else. For me, I'm just going to place it along my other generations here. And then you can either do the same code again if you want another one. Like if you just want to quickly clone it, you can do that like this. And then you have another one. So you can either do that or go back to my page and find something else you want to create and make that. One thing I need to show you though on the page is that sometimes I'm going to show you the wild as well. On the wild option, if I wanted to do the Gyarados in wild here, let me show you this. So on the wild mode, we have something called find legal PID. This one will also be found on static mode, and eventually on, yeah, it's on XD Coliseum, but also eventually on Mystery Gifts. Right now it's not implemented there. But for wild mode, if I wanted to do the Gyarados, we can no longer just set everything to 31. It's gonna be illegal. When you first select the Pokemon and you select the nature you want, it's going to have a preset PID that I have like manually found that is supposed to give a pretty good IV combination. So this one has perfect and everything except for special attack. So that would be pretty good for an adamant nature. If you selected Jolly, in this case, also pretty good. Right, let's do something else like a modest one. Then here we're trying to get as low attack as possible because we don't want attack, since in Gen 3 if you hit yourself in confusion, it's going to use your Pokemon's attack stat to deal damage to yourself. So we want to have the attack as low as possible on special attacking Pokemon. But yeah, if you are going to try and get as best IVs as you can, or you don't want these preset ones, you have to click on Find Legal PID. And this is using legal methods, or like it's trying to find legal PIDs based on the seeds that are possible for the Pokemon you're trying to get. So for our Gyarados, when I clicked Gyarados here, okay, it's set to Emerald. Let's set it to Fire Red. Okay, so now it's set to Pallet Town. It's going to show all the places where you can find either the Gyarados or the pre-evolution Magikarp in this case. So let's just say Pallet Town. That's cool. It's then going to snap to the like highest level that you can get. You might be able to, yeah, see, I can't get it higher. If you hover over here, it's gonna say the valid levels as well. But okay, let's put it at 15. And again, let's do my trainer ID. Let me just get that real quick. You don't have to know your secret ID for this part here. It's only if you want it to appear like it's yours. So let us say my secret ID was this right here, okay? Basically, you just fill in from top to bottom. Once you come to this one, PID and IVs, here's the filter for finding IVs. So I need to show you this. Here you can also select any if you don't care if it's male or female, then you get more results. So select this if you don't care. Then you can leave it here, just like that, and you can click shiny if you want the Pokemon to be shiny with your secret ID and trainer ID. And here you have the minimum values of IVs and the maximum. So once we click search, yeah, there are not a lot of results for such high IV combination for your specific trainer ID and secret ID when you're trying to get a shiny. So this would be the best I can get on Adamant Nature. It is a male, level 20, from method 4, with Intimidate ability. So I can select it. It is now automatically going to fill it in. So it's using this PID, and it's going to fill in the Met level as well as the shininess. So now you can again fill in other things that you want. Maybe we don't want the markings. And as you can see now, these are locked. I cannot change the IVs because if you do, it's not going to be legal anymore. It has to have these exact IVs. And this is because of something called PID type. So every Pokemon has a PID type, and if it's found in the wild, the PID, which is the like identification number of the Pokemon pretty much, has to match with the IVs. So they are like hand in hand, they have to match. But for the hatched mode, as we saw earlier, that is not the case. You can just put anything. So that's why this is more strict than the hatched mode. So we can now just, yeah, again, fill in any move you want and click generate. For any change that you make, you have to click generate to update the code. So I showed you like export, EK3. The PK3 is basically the same, but I highly suggest EK3. From my experience, people say that that is a better version than EK3, but what you may also do is actually import a hex code if you, for some reason, are in Pokeglitzer app. For especially interested people, if you are in Pokeglitzer app and you wanted to just copy a Pokemon that you had on your emulator into your game, for instance, like, oh, I played emulator on PC and I found a shiny Pokemon and I want to get it on my Switch. Yes, you can do that. You would just have to load up your save file in Pokeglitzer. Let's say that the Pokemon you wanted was this shiny Dratini that I made earlier. I can then just right click, open hex data editor, and I get this box here, and this is exactly what you're gonna see here essentially. But for this, we just copy all of that, and then you need to go into hex and actually paste it, and then click import hex code. Then it will yeah, be correct. So now I loaded up my Dratini. It doesn't matter which mode you're in here, because whatever you load in will just overwrite everything. So I don't think it matters if you're in hatched or any of the other ones. It's still gonna say that it was met at level 18, even though it's in hatched mode. So don't worry about that. But the important part is that you copy it in, and then click on import Pokemon, or import hex code. Okay, so let's say you wanted to get a Pokemon from your PC emulator, or if you have your emulator on either the phone or on PC, and you found this Pokemon that you want to like basically trade to your Switch, this is one way to do it, right? You can create it with the BASE64 writer, and that's essentially like copying it over. So let's say you found a Pokemon that you really want to trade over to your Switch, or have on your Switch. Okay, so let's say I wanted this Gyarados, right? It's a shiny Gyarados. Yay, I found this. I really want it on my Switch. Okay, then you would save Pokemon here. You can also just, by the way, right-click on and view to have it on this screen, and then you click File and Save Pokemon. You have to load up your save file before you do this, obviously. Then you can come into My Tool and go down to Import Pokemon here. You would just select the file, and it should be uploaded, and there you go. Now we have this exact Gyarados in the tool, and we click Generate to get the codes for it. And as you can see, these are the same codes we entered earlier. So that's a quick way to do that. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it on what you need to know about the BASE64 writer and my website and how to use it. If you have any questions about it, then you can always come into my Discord and ask. And I'm going to update it a little bit, so it might not look exactly like I showed you today, but it should be pretty similar. And I hope you enjoy it. So I will see you in the next one. Good luck.